never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Fine.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Since it's a Friday, let me be the first to say happy weekend to everybody out there. Today, here on the channel, I want to do something that I try to do at least once a week around this time of the year, all the way up until college football starts, and that is take a look at some random team's schedule and give you my prediction on what I think their record will be. And as I said, these are always random. I don't really hardly ever have a particular reason why I pick the team I pick. I just sit back and think about doing somebody's schedule and say, who do I want to do this time? And then whatever team comes to mind is who I do. But I have not done a early season preview this week. So I figure since it's Friday, I would go ahead and do one for the week. And this week, I have chosen the Texas A&M Aggies. Now, looking at their schedule, they have no Thursday games, no Friday games, no Sunday games, and no Monday games. And before you say, it's college football, there are no Sunday, Monday games. There are in week number 1, because remember, college football starts the week before the NFL starts. So in week 1, there are games from Thursday all the way up until Monday. So in week 1, you could play on Sunday or Monday, which this year, for the second year in a row, my Clemson Tigers are playing the Labor Day night primetime game. And who better to put on the same time slot as Monday Night Football than the team who is the best team to watch, and that is the Clemson Tigers. You have two choices in life, either be a Clemson fan or be wrong. Anyway, on to today's schedule. So since the Aggies have no Thursday games, no Friday games, no Sunday games, and no Monday games, that means all their games are on a Saturday, so that makes it a little bit easier. They open up on September the 2nd against the New Mexico Lobos. On the 9th, they play the Miami Hurricanes. On the 16th, they play Louisiana Monroe. On the 23rd of September, they finally start conference play. Their first conference game is the Auburn Tigers. Then they wrap up the month of September on the 30th by playing the Arkansas Razorbacks. They open up October on the 7th, game number 6 against the Alabama Crimson Tide. Then on the 14th, they play Tennessee. They're off in week number 8, the weekend of the 21st. Then they're back in action the following week Week number 9, game number 8, wrap it up October, Halloween weekend on the 28th against the South Carolina Gamecocks. Moving into November on the 4th, they play the Ole Miss Rebels. Week number 11, game number 10, on the 11th of November, they play the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And then the week before they wrap up the regular season, they play Abilene Christian. And they wrap up the regular season Thanksgiving weekend on the 25th against LSU. Now, Texas A&M has had several changes since last year, and I bring that up because I talk about it all the time here on the channel, that for every coach in America and every team in America, you can do what you want to as long as you're winning, but when you start losing, you can't do such bad things, because when you start losing, those bad things come back to haunt you. Well, Texas A&M has now gotten desperate, and they're showing how desperate they are, because they have hired Bobby Petrino to be their new offensive coordinator. And there ain't one person in America, including Bobby's family, who's going to try to tell you that Petrino is a decent man. He's not. He's a dirtbag. He's scum of the earth. He's bottom of your shoe. He's as low as you can get. But the man can flat out coach offense. So, with Texas A&M making this hire, they're basically saying, you know what? We've tried to play by the rules. We've tried to be clean. We've tried to keep our program clean, and it's not working. So we're going to bring in somebody who we know is a complete dirtbag, but he's going to make our offense better. And I guarantee you, Petrino comes in there and A&M's offense shows improvement, nobody's going to complain at the end of the season that he's a dirtbag. But if he comes in there and they still suck, and they go 4-8, 5-7, maybe 6-6, and their offense still sputters, they're going to tell the whole world, well, we're going to fire Petrino because he's a dirtbag, even though they already know that. When they made the hire, they knew Petrino's a dirtbag. Everywhere he's ever been, he's a complete tool. He ain't changed all of a sudden, but they don't care because they want to win. If it doesn't work, they'll fire him because he's a dirtbag. If it does work, they don't care because they're winning. Just another example of how you can do what you want to as long as you're winning. Petrino has been ran off everywhere he's ever been because of who he is, but he keeps getting jobs and keeps getting hired because he can coach. But their quarterback position this year is going to come down to 3 guys: Connor Weigman, Max Johnson, and Marcel Reed. Now, we know last year they had 7 quarterbacks on the roster. I have no idea why in the world Jimbo Fisher wanted 7 quarterbacks, knowing you can't play them all. But a couple of them were just there because they were local walk-on guys. But a couple of ones that have some significant playing time that are no longer there are Zach Calzada, who actually transferred into Texas A&M. He is now transferred again to Incarnate Word, and Haynes King, who is supposed to be the greatest quarterback in the history of quarterbacks in 2021, but he was terrible both years at A&M, has now transferred to Atlanta to be the quarterback for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. So that's why A&M is down to Connor Weigman, Max Johnson, and Marcel Reed. Now, Max Johnson clearly is the favorite if you're just looking at experience, but I just think Max Johnson is not any good, so it wouldn't surprise me if he starts the season as the quarterback because of experience, but I don't think he'll keep the job because I just don't think he's any good. But when I look at their schedule, I think they beat New Mexico. I think they beat Miami. I think they beat Louisiana Monroe. I think they beat Arkansas. I think they beat South Carolina only because I think the Gamecocks are going to be awful this year. I think they beat Mississippi State, and I think they beat Abilene Christian, and I think they lose to Tennessee, they lose to Ole Miss, and they lose to LSU. That puts them at 7-3 with 2 swing games. The swing games being Auburn and Alabama. Now, on paper, they should beat Auburn and lose to Alabama. But I know that Hugh Freeze is just like Petrino. He's scum of the earth, but the man can flat out coach. So don't be surprised if Auburn is better than expected this year. And for whatever reason, every year Jimbo Fisher's best offensive game plan is always against Alabama. The team he shows up for the most is Alabama. So I've got them 7-3 with 2 swing games. I'll say they win 1, lose 1. So I'll put them at 8-4. But it would not surprise me if they go 9-3. But as I always say when I do these videos about predictions on these teams, don't really look at who I say they beat and who I say they lose to. Concentrate on what I say their overall record will be. If I say they're going to be 8-4, as long as they're 8-4, it doesn't matter how they get there. You know, don't come back and say, man, you said they were going to lose to Tennessee and they beat them. Well, who cares? If they beat Tennessee but lose to South Carolina, that's still 8-4. So at the end of the day, 8-4 doesn't matter how you got there if you're 8-4. And I say they split one of those 2 games and they go 8-4. But since they always play good against Alabama, possibly 9-3. But even if they beat Auburn and beat Bama, they'll make up for it by losing some game they shouldn't lose. So I'll put them at 8-4 in 2023 for the Texas A&M Aggies. Any thoughts on this? Please feel free to let me know. Homes for Our Troops is a publicly funded 501c nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Since the 2004 inception, nearly 90 cents of every dollar spent has gone directly to our program services for veterans. Visit at hfotusa.org. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. What does cake and baseball have in common? They both need a batter. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.